Hi, my name is Allison Wilson. I am an industry principal working in the Billing Center of Excellence here at NetSuite, and I'll be taking you through today's presentation of SuiteBilling for software companies. Thank you for joining us today. Quick safe harbor statement, as we will be looking at some forward-looking functionality. And here is our agenda for today. First, we'll take a look at SuiteBilling history. How did we end up where we are today? Next, we'll dive into SuiteBilling goals and foundations. We'll look at the customer structure, the product catalog structure, subscription management, how do SuiteBilling and advanced revenue work together, and then also take a look at what's coming with the product in the future. And then we'll take a look and dive into the demo in the system. Following that, we'll do some live Q&A. Great, so to start off with SuiteBilling history. So in late 2016, we launched our early adopter program for the SuiteBilling product. Our goal was to engage 10 EA candidates, and we succeeded in qualifying and engaging 10 candidates in North America. We have 5 of those customers live, and we have 2 scheduled to go live by September. Each of those candidates have had the opportunity to provide us with feedback in implementation and during UAT sessions, and which has resulted in us having 5 referenceable customers already to date, with others going through the reference process today. So overall, our early adopter program has been a big success, and we're now looking to launch our EA program in the UK, followed by Australia later this year. Following the early adopter program in North America, we then successfully went commercially available, specifically in the software vertical in July of this year. We're targeting our B2B software companies in North America specifically, and we have found that those that have the best functional fit for the product are within this 25,000 or less invoices per month. So this gives you an idea of how the product has evolved over the last year. Let's now look at SuiteBilling goals to see where what the product has accomplished already and where it's looking to go. SuiteBilling has had 6 goals, and some of them we've achieved today, and some of them are future goals. Our first goal is unified rating and revenue, and this is one of our key differentiators right now. When an element of my rating or my charges on my billing side is created or updated, my revenue updates and creates in parallel. So we have SuiteBilling that has been built very much in consideration with the advanced revenue management module, and they're both built on the core and affect the GL directly. Next, event-based rating. So depending on actions that happen over my service period will affect how I'm going to rate and charge for an item overall. A great example of this is a usage-based item. Depending on how much usage I'm uploading, what tier it fits into, what price is set at that tier will affect how I'm going to rate that item overall. Activity agnostic. This is a future goal, and what this means is our goal is to accommodate the full consolidated invoice, including subscription items, inventory-based items, and any other professional service or sales order items as well. Currently, we support our subscription-based items only, and we'll take a look at that today. Another goal that we've successfully achieved today is flexible scheduled billing. What this means is I can set up my billing to happen for me when I want it to, for what customer base, and what do I want to happen during that time. I can schedule this to happen for me automatically, so I don't need to be in charge of that over the course of the billing period. Rich bill presentment. This is another future goal. So depending on how you want your customer to view your information. So being able to offer it up to them in the way that they want to view or consume it, whether that's a custom PDF document or it's potentially them logging into a customer portal and being able to truly manage themselves. So this is where we are looking to take the product. And then lastly, real-time reporting. So just like NetSuite today, any changes that occur on the billing side will affect my reporting real-time. I'm not waiting 24 hours to view that update. SuiteBilling foundations. We have 2 foundations, the concept of the billing account and the charge. So billing accounts are merely an extension of my customer record. my customer record could have one or they could have multiple billing accounts. The billing account sets the cadence for how often I want to be billed, whether it's monthly, quarterly, annually, and they also set the currency. Anything that's tied to that billing account, so specific activities such as subscriptions today and then in the future inventory and project-based items, will roll up to that billing account and all be invoiced together. The billing account is the point where all charges roll up to and the invoice is created. So I could have a single invoice to customer relationship or have multiple billing accounts on my customer record representing multiple billing accounts. For example, if I had different regions I wanted to split my invoices for, if I had different currencies I was operating in, or if I had different cadence for billing across a single customer. So who is the SuiteBilling customer? The SuiteBilling customer is the customer record in NetSuite. SuiteBilling is built on the core. When SuiteBilling is enabled, we have two extra subtabs that live on that customer record, the billing account and the subscription, as you can see in this diagram. First, we have the billing account, which, as we just reviewed, sets your cadence and your currency for how often you want to be billed. And then we have the subscription, and this represents what your customer purchased or what you've sold them. The subscriptions are tied to billing accounts so the system knows how to bill for them, and you could have multiple billing accounts as we reviewed, and then you can also have multiple subscriptions tied to a single billing account, or it can be a simple one-to-one relationship as well. So what does the subscription hold? The subscription holds what you've sold, and it holds your product catalog. So your product catalog is represented by subscription plans. Subscription plans are what we represent. This represents your bundle and how you want to best bundle your items together for sale to your customer. As you can see here, your subscription plans includes the items that you wish to bundle or sell together. It also includes how you want to price these items, and we represent this with price books and price plans. Every subscription plan must have at least a single price book so the system knows how to rate and charge for each specific item. Then each price plan must be set for each item so we know how each item is set to be priced and charged for. You can also have multiple price books on your subscription plan. For example, if you had a list price versus enterprise or small business unit pricing. We also set our renewal options at the subscription plan level. So the subscription plan is very much a template. It is our starting point on how we want to best offer this, or the best representation of how we want to sell this to our customer. Once the subscription plan is added to the customer record as a subscription, as we saw in the previous slide, we have the ability to then customize it specific for that customer, whether it's changing quantities, adding or removing discounts, adjusting renewal options, or adjusting specific price plans based on what your sales reps have negotiated as well. So while the subscription plan is your outline, it's your template, you have every ability to then customize it specific for your customer at the point of sale. Subscription management. So currently we have two item types that we support in the system, non-inventory and service items, with the intention to support more item types in the future. We have three price plan types: fixed recurring, which is a recurring fee such as software access fee, which we'll look at in the system, and you can bill for these in advance or arrears depending on your preference. Usage, this is a transaction-based charge, always billed in arrears as it's dependent on what is uploaded over the course of the service period. And a one-time charge, so a single, one-off, miscellaneous charge that you wish to bill for, such as a setup fee. SuiteBilling and ARM. So as we discussed at the very beginning, one of our key differentiators and goals is unified rating and revenue. And this is with SuiteBilling and our advanced revenue management module working very much in parallel. SuiteBilling was built for and alongside the advanced revenue management module. When a subscription is activated or changed, a revenue arrangement is created or updated in parallel. Each item within the subscription has a corresponding revenue element with the subscription term dictating your revenue plan. The billing and revenue affect your general ledger in unison because of the consolidated database they're built on. When you're billing while your billing and revenue work in parallel, as you see here, it's important to note that revenue recognition can happen independently from invoicing. Okay, so what's coming? We've just gotten a high-level overview of what the product, where the product has reached today, what's coming. So with our initial release earlier this year, our focus was on pricing flexibility, specifically those price books and price plans that we'll dive into more in the system set at the subscription plan level, really giving you an ability to set up your product catalog and your pricing and differentiate it for each of your customers if needed, or also just for your customer base. So that initial release was focused on pricing flexibility. Where we're going next is enhanced bundling. How can I bundle my items together with greater flexibility? An example of this will be having a required versus an optional item, being able to select whether you want that item to be included at the point of sale or not, and then also giving you the ability to downgrade or upgrade throughout the course of the subscription period. Also, inventory item support. So this is one of our SuiteBilling goals, being activity agnostic. So we're looking to expand our item support to include fulfillable items. Also, complex pricing. So evolving our pricing models to handle your more complex pricing scenarios. An example of this could be a commit and overage model. Your client commits to a certain amount in advance, but then you must charge them in arrears for what they've gone over. And lastly, we are working with a partner to work on our SFDC integration specifically, and that's scheduled to be released later this year. We will dive into the system now for our demo. Great. So here we are in the NetSuite system. And to start off with, we're going to look at our product catalog. So if you can remember with what we just reviewed, our subscription plans are what represent our product catalog. This is what we set up in advance to best represent how we want to bundle our offering or our items for our customer. So let's take a look at an example subscription plan. Here you can see I have a subscription plan called Records Management. So when I'm setting up my subscription plan, I set an initial term, and this would be a best representation of, let's say, a contract term. Whatever I set at my subscription plan level, again, is fully customizable at the customer level. So because I have it set to 1 year here, does not mean everybody needs to be on a 1-year term. You have the flexibility to adjust that on a customer-by-customer basis. I also include the line items that I wish to include. In this example, I have a setup and training one-time fee, a software access recurring fee, and a data storage usage fee. So I have one of each price plan type included within this bundle. You can bundle across different price plan types as needed. I also select a billing mode. So for my one-time and recurring items, I have the ability to charge these in advance or arrears. In this case, I have them set to in advance. And my usage items are always billed in arrears. For my reoccurring items, I have the ability to tell the system if I want it to prorate or not. In this case, I have it set to yes. However, I have the ability to also select no. Lastly, I can select 2 other fields, include in the renewal subscription or revenue recognition option. With include in the renewal subscription, I'm essentially telling the system whether I want this line item included or not. In this case, you can see I've set the one-time setup and training fee to only be included with a different subscription plan, as it would be assumed that they've already been trained on the existing one. Whereas with my recurring and usage fees, they will always be included. For my revenue recognition options at the line item level, I have 2 options, one-time and over the subscription plan, over the subscription term. In this case, I have my one-time item recognized immediately, whereas my other 2 will be recognized over the subscription term. Once I've added my line items to my subscription plan, I can also select my renewal options. So at the subscription plan level, I can set up if I want this to auto-renew. If I do, what is my default renewal term? Do I want this renewal process to initiate X days before the existing subscription end date? And if so, how many days? And what's my default renewal method? We have two options. We have the ability to create a new subscription or extend the existing subscription. If I select create new subscription, I can then select the subscription plan I wish it to change to, and also the default renewal transaction type or the sales transaction type. I have options for it to be a sales order, an estimate, an opportunity, and also for it to not create a sales transaction at all, simply renew the subscription and create the renewed subscription. Again, anything set up at this subscription plan level can be adjusted on a customer-by-customer basis dependent on what your customer and your sales rep have negotiated. The last piece that we set at our subscription plan level is our pricing. So this was part of our initial release, our pricing flexibility. We can have multiple price books, as you see here, set at the subscription plan level. And in this case, you can see I have a UK price book, I have an annual versus monthly price book in Canadian, and then also my list in annual in US dollars. I must have at least one price book, so I can select which one I'd like at the point of sale. The system knows how to rate for each item. If we take a look at my list pricing for US dollars, when I set up my price book, I set up a name, and then the line items that is included in my subscription plan will default as we need to set up specific price plans for each of those items. As you can see here, for my one-time item, anything over 0, I'm going to charge for $99 per unit. For my software access fee, if we take a look at this price plan in a little bit more depth, when I set up my price plans for each of my items, I have two price plan types, volume or tiered. Volume, I'm going to rate and charge based on the aggregate quantity that is entered. For example, if I were to charge for 15 units during a specific period, I find the tier that the full 15 fits in and charge all 15 at $129. Whereas if this was tiered, I would incrementally move through the tiers, meaning I would charge the first 10 at $149 and the next 5 at $129. I also have two different pricing options, rate and fixed amount. With rate, I'm rating each specific item entered, whereas with a fixed amount, I will just charge the flat rate that's entered in the value field. I also have the ability to set minimum and maximum amounts at each level of the price plan. An additional piece that's available for my usage price plan type is a concept of included quantity. So if I'd like to include a specific amount for my customer, I can set that at the subscription plan level and also adjust it specific for my customer at the time of sale. My price plan will then rate and charge after that amount of included quantity has been reached. In a situation where I want to have my included quantity dependent on a reoccurring item, for example, if I sign up for 5 software access license fees, I will get 100 minutes of usage for free. I would select my included quantity to be 100, and then I would select my software access recurring fee to have it dependent on that item. So this is purely a relationship between my usage item being dependent on my recurring item. Last items that we select at our price book line level are any discounts we wish to offer. Currently, we support percentage-based discounts. And we also select our charge frequency. How often do you want a charge to be generated for this line item? In this case, you can see I have my one-time item being generated one time and my reoccurring and usage items to be charged monthly. Once I have my price book set up, my subscription plan is ready to be added to my customer record. Now let's go to an example customer, Blue Sky Software. And as we reviewed earlier, 2 extra pieces when SuiteBilling has been implemented are the billing account and subscriptions. Let's quickly take a look at our billing account. If you remember, in order to add a subscription to my customer record, I need to have my subscription plan set up, and I also need to have a billing account to attach my subscription to so the system knows how to bill for that specific subscription. You can see here that I have 2 billing accounts set up for this specific customer. I have a Canadian billing account and a US dollar billing account. Let's take a look at my US dollar billing account here. So the billing account is where I set my currency and also my cadence. When I'm setting up my billing schedule, I have 2 options: anniversary billing or fixed date billing. Anniversary billing, as you see here, would be if my customer signs up on a specific day of the month, let's say the 5th, they'll always have a bill date of the 5th of the month. If you charge your customers on a specific date of the month, such as the 1st of the month or last day of the month, you can set a fixed bill date as well. When you set your billing schedule, you're also setting your frequency. So am I billing monthly, quarterly, semi-annually? There's an option for use off-cycle invoice for advanced charges. What this means is if my subscription is activated mid-term, an off-cycle invoice will be generated for that specific activation. We can see start date, last bill cycle date, next bill cycle date, last bill date. Last bill cycle date represents when the system last ran billing for me versus a last bill date that will incorporate anything manual that you run or any of these off-cycle invoices that run as well. And the next bill cycle date is always good to reference. At the billing account level, we can also set our addresses. So depending on the addresses that you have set up on your customer record, you can select the appropriate address to bill to at your specific billing account level, as well as invoice templates. If you have different invoice templates for different customers or different customer groups, you can have multiple templates and you're able to select the correct template for the specific billing account, as this is where our invoice rolls up to. Once I have my billing account set up, now I can go ahead and set up my subscriptions for my customer, or go ahead and sell my offering to my customer. So how do I get a subscription added to my customer record? How do I sell it? We take a look at our subscriptions tab here. You can directly add a subscription from the customer record by selecting new right here and bypass the sales transaction process. Alternatively, if we take a look at the example subscription here, you can see that this subscription has come in from sales order 119. So we can add it directly from the customer record, or we can add it to a sales order. If we take a look at this example sales order here, this is the same sales order functionality as you'd be used to today. However, with SuiteBilling, you have this additional option of adding subscriptions to the sales order. At this point, I can add the subscription, and when I'm adding a subscription, I'm selecting the subscription plan I'm wishing it to hold. I can then update quantities, adjust pricing, add discounts, and once it's all customized how I like it for my customer, I select add, and once it's added to my sales order, you will see the line items default that are included within that subscription. So you can see here, I've added my records management subscription plan. I've decided to include 2 setup and training fees, 10 software access licenses, and then I have my data storage, which is my usage fee, which will be billed in arrears. We can see the rate that they're going to be charged at, the amount over the entire subscription period, and then the amount per period during the subscription, which is also represented in my subscription totals in the top right here as well. Once my sales order is approved, and you can see this has been closed, once it's approved, the subscription that's been added at this sales order level is automatically added to my customer record. The same would happen if I started this with an opportunity, which evolved to an estimate, which then moved to a sales order. You could set up the subscription from the very beginning and have it evolve through those different stages. So you're setting it up once versus multiple times. So let's go back to my customer record and take a look at my subscription that I set up. So within my subscription record, we have a really good consolidated view of everything for this subscription. We have, where did this subscription come from? What billing account is attached to? What subscription plan is it holding? It's holding my records management subscription plan with my list price book. What's my term? What's my original start date? Now, what's the difference between original start date and start date? Original start date is going to represent the date that your subscription was set up, whether it was from the subscription or the sales order level or directly from the customer record. The actual start date is when we've activated the services to be charged. So you could have a subscription set up in advance if the customer isn't ready to start off, or if it's dependent on something going live or a payment being received. You can then start the subscription at a later date by activating it at the correct time. We can also see the billing account that this subscription is attached to, so we know how often it's going to be billed for, when was billing last run, when is it next going to be run. And then we can see the line items that were included within the subscription. What did I sell my customer? What are they going to be charged for? Now, after my subscription is added to my customer record, whether it's directly or via sales order, we then need to activate it, as I mentioned earlier. Activation is telling the system that you would like to start billing your customer for these services. As you can see here, I've already activated this subscription. Activation is one of the first types of change orders that SuiteBilling product offers. So change orders encompass a lot, whether it's activation, modifying pricing, as you can see here, which includes changing quantities, pricing, or discounts. And it also includes being able to suspend, reactivate, renew, or terminate. Activation would be at the very beginning, telling the system you want those charges to be billed for. Any change order that happens over the course of the subscription term is kept within this change order audit log. So you can see what has changed, who's made the change at any point in time, and what is the date the change is effective of. Change orders can be made as of today, they can be made in the past, and they can also be scheduled for the future. So if we take a look at my activation change order here, you can see that effective May 1st, I would like this subscription to be activated. I can see who made the request. I can always include a memo if required. And then I can select the line items I wish to include at activation. I do not need to activate the entire subscription at this time. If I wanted to only activate a single line item, I could, and always go back and activate the subsequent line items at a different time. In this case, you can see I've activated them all. I've also, you can see if I made any changes as well, you would be able to see any of the changes in this field. So once I've activated my subscription, my one-time and my recurring items automatically have charges generated for them against the appropriate billing account that the subscription is tied to. Now let's say I wanted to make a change. My customer calls in and they want to adjust the amount that they're being charged for. We would accomplish this by modifying pricing. So anytime I'm wanting to change quantity, price, or discount, I will modify pricing. So here's an example of a modification that I've made via change order. You can see that as of July 1st, again, Catherine Glass made this request. I've only made a change to my software access fee, and I've changed my licenses to be from 7 to 10. So the system will automatically make these changes as of July 1st to increase the quantity to be charged for from 7 to 10. So let's go take a look at my charges now to see if these changes and activations have been reflected. So here we can see my list of charges. So upon activation, my one-time and my recurring items automatically generate charges. So we can see my one-time charge here for 2 setup and training, $198. We can then see all of my recurring service fees over the course of the subscription term laid out. We can now see, as of July 1st, when I processed that change to change from 7 licenses to 10, the charge record has changed. So if I made multiple changes in the future, you'd be able to see these reflected within your charge record list. You can also see the charge state, so what's been processed versus what hasn't been yet. We can see that I've invoiced and processed for my first couple of months, and then I'm ready to bill for the subsequent months. Now, if you can also see, I have a data storage fee here, so my usage item. So how do we rate and charge for our usage items? For our usage items, usage must be uploaded into the system. Currently, we can upload via the UI, via CSV import, and also one of our APIs that is available to you. Once the usage is imported into the system, a billing operation must run, and this ties back to our goal of flexible scheduled billing. When I set up my billing operation, I set up what do I want to run? Is it rating, invoicing? Do I want it to pick up any credit memos? If rating is run, it will pick up any usage records that have been entered into the system and then generate charges for them, depending on how much usage has been imported, what the price plan is dictated for that specific item, whether it's tiered or volume, what tier it fits into, and produce the charge. So in this case, you can see 45 units of usage were entered, and that produced a total charge of $22.50. My billing operation will also automatically create invoices for me based on this next bill cycle date at my billing account levels for my customer base. And, giving you the flexibility to have those invoices generated automatically for you, and it's out of your hands. So when charges are generated, if you can remember, revenue arrangements and elements are created in parallel. So as we can see here, I have all of my charges laid out. Let's take a look at my revenue elements. So you can see here, I have a revenue element created for each of the items that were activated during for my subscription. You can see the entire sales and revenue amount. And if we go and take a look at my revenue arrangement here. So here's my revenue arrangement for Blue Sky Software based on this subscription. If I take a look at my software access revenue recognition plan here, we'll be able to see the forecast of what is due to be billed or recognized over the course of the subscription. So you can see we had set it to be recognized over the subscription term, so an equal amount has been set over the subscription term. For my usage, you can see there's $0 here. However, if we select my revenue recognition plan and we look at my actuals, we're able to see that actually $222.50 is due to be recognized for this item. Okay, sorry. So that gives you an example of how my charges and my revenue elements work in parallel. Now let's take a look at my invoicing. So if we look at my transactions, we can see the sales order that came in, and I can see that 2 invoices have been created as well. My first invoice, I would expect to see my one-time and my recurring fee on the same invoice. So if we take a look at this invoice, you can see here as of May 1st, here I have my setup and training and software access fee due to be billed for that period. They were set to be billed in advance. Because my usage item was set to be billed in arrears, I would expect to see that on my June 1st invoice, along with my reoccurring item for June 1st, which is exactly what I can see here. I can see those 45 units that are due, that were entered in June or in May to be billed on June 1st, along with my software access fee. for June. Important to note that currently SuiteBilling integrates with standard NetSuite invoicing functionality. So if you have any existing invoice templates or processes, we would be able to integrate well with that. The last piece we'll take a look at is reporting. So with reporting, we have 5 reports available today. This is something that we've worked very closely with our early adopters on to gather the information and views they would wish to see. Currently, we have a monthly recurring revenue report. This includes all of your reoccurring items for the period you select within the report. We have total contract value. This includes your reoccurring and one-time items and will reflect any prorated charges, any changes that have been made in the future, and give you a really good overall total contract value over your entire subscription period. Billings to date, this will include your one-time, recurring, and usage-based charges, and then it will take the total contract value for any forward-looking or forecasted values. And then we have our 2 churn reports. So we have our churn by customer and our churn by revenue. So how many people, how many new customers do I have in a month? How many am I losing? A customer is considered churned when all of the subscriptions against the customer record have been terminated. And then what is the revenue associated with that? How much am I gaining or losing based on my churn? Now, one thing to call out is most items within SuiteBilling are their own usage or their own record. Therefore, you would be able to create the views that potentially you're not seeing today in your own safe searches. So that is the end of our demonstration of the system. So now we'll open it up to questions, which Kelly will be sharing with me. So thanks very much for paying attention so far, and we're now open for your questions at this time.
Thanks, Allie. Great job. We have a number of questions coming in around, what other NetSuite modules are needed to run SuiteBilling, what else needs to be in place for this to be working. So if you wouldn't mind addressing that, that would be wonderful.
Yes, absolutely. So the prerequisite for SuiteBilling is you must be live on financials, on ERP, on the NetSuite's financial system, and that's the only prerequisite to implementing SuiteBilling.
Great. And then would you mind just talking a little bit about the kind of the invoicing and how that future feature is looking compared to how invoicing looks today?
So with regards to our future goal of expanding that, currently there is nothing specific timing-wise that we can commit to with regards to, let's say, an employee portal. Right now we're working off of the invoicing of functionality that's available today with NetSuite, open for some customizations as required at that point until we evolve the product to get it where we want it to be.
Great.
I hope that answers that question.
I think so. International folks, how do they get involved into SuiteBilling? Is there a specific way to incorporate the international companies here?
Right. If you have customers who are international, we are launching that early adopter program in the UK right now, and then Australia later this year. Outside of that, we will opportunistically look at other international customers and ensure that they are a really good fit and to make sure our teams are comfortable with supporting them at this time.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about ARM and SuiteBilling. So how does that, can you talk kind of what that implementation looks like? what that timeline looks like, how those two fit well together?
Sure. So SuiteBilling and ARM, while they're two separate modules, can very much be implemented in parallel. They can also be staggered. So if you have implemented ARM in advance and then SuiteBilling, there is no effect on your implementation cost or timing. And similarly, if you implemented SuiteBilling first and then implemented ARM. So there's a lot of flexibility in how those two modules can be implemented, whether together or separately.
Great. Can you speak to anything about, the native sales tax functionality within SuiteBilling?
I don't think so at this time. Is there anything more specific with that question? If it will work alongside SuiteBilling, I imagine. If so,
yeah, let's look at that.
Yeah, so we're built on the core. Therefore, whatever tax you are working with today or using today should and will work with the SuiteBilling module. We're simply in between, the sales process in order to invoicing. Once that invoice is generated, your sales tax process should remain the same.
Great. So we have a lot of folks asking questions around recurring billing and that they're currently using that within NetSuite. What's needed to migrate from that to SuiteBilling? Is there a time frame? Are there prerequisites for that as well?
Right. So if you're on recurring billing today and it's working for you, there is no need for you to make that migration or change over to SuiteBilling unless there is something functionally that you'd like to evaluate, and we can start that process for you. There's no plan in the near future for decommissioning recurring billing and replacing it with SuiteBilling. So if it's working for you, great, keep going on it. If SuiteBilling is of interest to you, it would be us fully implementing from the ground up SuiteBilling from start to finish, and so we would simply decommission your recurring billing instance and replace it with SuiteBilling.
Great. So I think we'll have, we have a couple more minutes, maybe one more question here. So with the introduction of SuiteSuccess, and that's, our main methodology here at NetSuite, can you kind of talk about the relationship with SuiteBilling as well as SuiteSuccess?
Sure. So SuiteBilling can be implemented alongside a SuiteSuccess deal. So if that is something that you're pursuing, we are able to parallel the implementation of SuiteBilling with your SuiteSuccess implementation. We'll be looking in the future to fully integrate it into the SuiteSuccess implementation, but for now, they very much can operate in parallel. Great.
Well, thank you guys so much. We will be, there are a number of questions in here, so please reach out to someone from the Billing Center of Excellence at NetSuite or your NetSuite representative. Feel free to send your questions along to them and they will connect you with the right person. Allie, thank you so much for demonstrating SuiteBilling for software companies. And everyone, please have a wonderful afternoon.